All right, guys, today we're going to do a quick technique video for you on the push-up. Using the push-up in these correct fashions will get a lot more muscle activation, you'll get a lot stronger, and you'll build that technique a lot better. All right, so Colby's going to be here for me to be my demonstration so you guys can see how all these little techniques and tweaks can really improve your movement. All right, so now that we're down in the push-up, the first piece is going to be making sure that you guys are in a correct position. A correct position is going to be engaging the core, so he's going to be trying to brace his belly button to his spine. He wants to make sure his hands are directly underneath his shoulders, and he's a little bit forward. Basically, I like to think about a straight line off of his shoulder right into his fingernail. And now from the backside here, we want to try and ideally have your feet as close together as possible. But to regress this movement and make it a little bit easier for you, I would widen your base. By widening the base, you're a little bit more stable. Think about it like a tripod here. So he can widen his base even more if he needs to regress the movement down and make it a little bit easier. So now that we're in the correct setup, if you do need to regress this down and make it a little bit easier, you can elevate your hands by pushing them onto a box, a bench, or any sort of platform that's a little bit higher. And depending on how you can move through this movement would depend on how high you would go. By going higher, you regress the movement, but still keep all the positions the exact same. So as you guys progress down to the floor, you guys will keep the exact same technique from easiest to hardest. All right, now that we're in that push-up position and we got the proper setup with our feet, our torso, and our core, there's two pieces that come down through the arms. The first piece is going to be the hands. Now, I see a lot of people with this close hand position. To make this push-up more effective and stronger in this movement, I recommend opening the hands like a web. All right, so what Colby's going to do is he's going to web his hands as wide as he possibly can. Now, next piece is creating more tension through the shoulders, the chest, and the core. To do that, what we're trying to think about is rotating the floor away from each other. So right now, he's got his thumbs basically like this on the floor, okay? Obviously a little bit further. But what we're trying to think about doing is rotating our hands away from each other. Now, if you're actually planted into the floor, you're not going to be able to rotate those hands. But he's going to relax real quick just so we can see this little tweak here. But if we watch where his elbow pit is, when he rotates the floor, they're going to turn forward. Now that we've got the setup with our hands, our feet, and our core, the next piece is actually completing the push-up. Now, what I see a lot of people do is a push-up without any tension. And what that looks like from the front view is basically Colby's just going to fall to the floor. There's no real control, but it is a push-up. Now, to get the same amount of work with this push-up as what I'm going to teach you, you'd have to do 10 to 20 push-ups to get the most out of the movement compared to what I'm going to show you with all these pieces. Now, we don't want to just free fall down to the floor. We want to control this movement. So what I like to think about is while we've got our fingers open wide, our elbow pits forward, I'm thinking like I'm pulling myself to the floor. So going down, he's controlling as much as he possibly can. It's almost like a tempo. I don't want to just free fall down, but I want to control myself. He's then going to explode up. Now that we're in this side profile position, one thing you're going to notice with Colby throughout his whole push-up is his head stays in a neutral position. So when he goes down, he's going to actually pull himself down to the bottom of that position, just as I said, and then he's going to explode up. But one thing you guys notice is his neck stays completely straight. What I see from a lot of people is this. By doing this, you actually turn off and disengage some of your nervous system, so you're not even as strong as you should be. So again, he's going to keep his neutral head. Now the next piece, as he goes down, what I want you guys to watch is where his forearms are. Now, when I first started this video, I recommended that your hands be forward or in line, just slightly behind the shoulders. Now to piece this together just a little bit more, when he goes down, our goal here is to have a completely vertical forearm. All right. So for this position, he might want to open his hands up just a slight bit more and bring his hands back just a hair. All right, so again, he's going to do that strict push-up and drive up. Now, if you guys don't see this, he's already shaking. He's only done a couple reps, but Colby can crush out probably 20 or 30 without really any problem. By controlling this movement, engaging as much muscle as possible, muscle fibers, you're actually making the movement harder, but also making it more effective because now you're doing it correctly. You can get a lot more bang for your buck by doing a movement correctly and more challenging than just doing more reps, all right? So that's the technique tip for the push-up.